We are back on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio News Talk 1180. Our guest by phone is Brian Johnston, the director of the National Right to Life. Brian.
The Western Office.
Western Office. Yes, I'm sorry. Western Regional Director.
That's right. So, we were talking about Obamacare, and I know that Marty knows this. Marty, you know, and Clay know just how sweeping this has been, how it's affected the rights of private citizens to insure themselves and to make sure they get the insurance they need for their lives, so that you can, you think about insurance. You don't buy insurance when you're young, typically, because you don't need it. You buy insurance for when you need it. And part of the problem with government-run benefit plans is that they determine, ultimately, when you do receive it. And we've seen this happen time again in many other nations that has a system like this, a single-payer system, where the government is the one that pays. And there's a certain point that they will determine for cost-cutting reasons. Now, there was talk, and then it was dismissed, but it was accurate, the talk of the death panel. And what that is that and this is in this 2,000-page bill, there are established panels, and I think it's 17 members, that determines the type of health care that's appropriate to be given. And their desire in reducing cost is to reduce certain types of health care. So in other words, if you want to, they have the right, even if you want to buy your own health care, this panel of cost reduction, because they want to bring down it's rather secure, that's how they go about this. But to keep down the total cost of health care, if people are going out and getting these very, very expensive bypass procedures, let's say, or some kind of brain operation that's very, very expensive, well, that adds to the total cost of health care. And what they want to do is they want to make sure everybody has the same access to the same kind of health care in this egalitarian wonder world. And it's what happened in Russia and in other places, the Warsaw Pact. And to some degree, we see this in Britain and in Canada, that at a certain point they have to say, we cannot offer that to you. It's too expensive, and because of your age and other factors, it's just not worth us spending that money. The problem with Obamacare, if you say, okay, all right, I can't get it, but I'm going to mortgage my house. I'm going to save my wife's life. They can deny you getting that with your own money under Obamacare.
Correct.
And people don't understand that. They can deny it because when you start buying those procedures, and if everybody starts buying their own procedures, now medication and medical care gets very expensive again, and you're ruining their perfect world. So they will prohibit that even in the private sector. Most Americans don't understand that Obamacare does that.
Yeah,
It's
the doctors will lose their license and be fined. I have a new title for the Life and Death Committee now. I'm going to call it Abortion of Seniors.
Well, it's exactly right in some ways. It's really, we see the graying of America. We could spend a whole program just on that, but the reality is this whole debate's not happening in a vacuum. That the reality is that we do have, because we cut off our legacy of our future, our children, in so many ways. We're far below zero population growth, by the way, far below it. And if it wasn't for the immigration, both legal and illegal, sadly, our population would be dwindling. We see that in Europe. If you look at Europe, Europe is so incredibly gray. And the fact is because of the immigration into Europe that they're able to keep any kind of population base. And a lot of those, there's so many cultural issues that come with that. But there's tremendous pressure on our culture to get rid of the elderly. And again, that's a whole other thing. We could spend literally an hour and a half just on that one topic. But let's talk about some of the victories real quickly. What's happened since 73, Marty, is that in every state, what happened is that people like you and I, when we understood what was happening, we said, this must stop. This is wrong. You cannot kill babies just because you don't want them anymore. And so in every state, organizations sprung up. National Right to Life is a federation of organizations, one in each state, that's dedicated to restoring the right to life and to being citizens. It's really important in the pro-life movement. I tell people, they say, I couldn't be pro-life. I can't march around with those bloody signs, and I can't do those wacky things. And there's been a lot of things that have happened in the movement. Here's the important thing to realize. If you're pro-life, all you need to do is be a citizen. The Right to Life movement is asking you to be an American citizen. Vote, get your family to vote, understand what the debate is, understand that you should be involved in the civic process. These are your laws. This is your nation. You must be involved. You don't have to do anything kooky. Being a citizen is not kooky, but you will still get pressure, and you need to understand that, yes, it's good to vote. Some people have said, oh, that's being a single-issue voter. In fact, everybody has a single issue. I had a reporter tell me that. Oh, you're just a single-issue person. You're a single-issue voter. I said to this reporter, well, look, Mike, to be honest, I think you are too. He said, no, I'm not. No, I'm very open-minded. Well, okay, I tell you what. Let's say there's a candidate that is a beautiful candidate. You love them across the board. You love all of their issues. They're well-spoken. They're the kind of person you would love for a neighbor, and they're running for office. But there's this one hitch. This person is opposed to the freedom of speech and the freedom of the press. They're opposed to freedom of the press. Are you going to vote for that guy, Mike? You know what he said to me? You're right.
Yep.
I guess I am. I guess I do have a hierarchy, and there's something at the top of my personal hierarchy. Yeah, I guess I would be a single-issue voter.
Yep, I think we all have
Made
that.
my point. Mm-hmm. And everybody is. And we need to get people to understand what really is important in life. And once they understand what Roe has done, and they understand what's at stake, they, too, will be single-issue voters if they really care about other human beings.
Definitely.
So there's been a lot of victories. Mm-hmm. In fact, Marty, is there other stuff you want to...
Yeah. First of all, I just wanted to reintroduce you here. We're having a conversation with the director of the Western Regional Office of the National Right to Life, Brian Johnston.
I don't know, Brian, if you watched the presidential debate the other night, but Rick Santorum made a great comment about eliminating poverty and how to do it. Basically, you do three things. One, you get a job. Number two, you go to school. Number two, you get a job. And number three, you get married. And by doing that, you'll cut poverty down to less than 2%.
Oh, yeah, and that's exactly right. Rick Santorum, I'm not endorsing here, but I just love Rick Santorum. Mm-hmm. I've met him several times in a couple of different events, and just what a wonderful man. But it's very insightful, and there's a whole issue there in terms of, you talk about child abuse. That's another thing you'll hear typically. Oh, well, we need to have abortion because if that child gets born, then he's just going to be abused. He's not wanted. Oh. But the fact is, if you look at this, child abuse and even what they call spousal abuse, those situations end up the highest rate. If you look at the studies, it's in a situation where these are not wed mothers, and they're living with some guy who has no real obligation. There's no either cultural or financial or any other kind of obligation. And so you have this incredible situation that happens really because people are doing something that in some ways is already violating, if not legal norms, at least, but in some ways they are, but social norms that are there to help protect that family and that mother and that child. And this is consistent. So Rick is exactly right that marriage is an institution that is there to protect children. Mm-hmm. It is the benefit of society to have a sound marriage with a man for the father and a woman for the mother, mm-hmm. and where they're bound together in a commitment that is indissoluble, and that's a safe place for you and I to come into the world. That's the safest place to come into the world. Many people can survive in rougher situations, but it costs them a lot.
Brian, we have to have you back. We've got about 30 seconds left. Tell me real quick in 30 seconds about Life Fest Film Festival.
Life Fest Film Festival, I really wanted to build up to this, but we'll just hit it. Life Fest really is very exciting because I see this in California as this is the state that has Hollywood. We export culture from this state, not only to the nation, but the world. Life Fest is the film festival that's dedicated to showcasing films which reinforce the intrinsic worth of individual human life.
And I promise you, we're going to have you back in the next month or two to talk more about it, okay?
Yeah, it's lifefilmfest.com if anybody wants to check it. It's exciting. A lot of stars, producers, directors went to last year's. We'll have more this year.
Great. We will talk. Brian, thank you, and we're going to have you back to talk about it, okay?
Okay, Marty.
We'll see you in 167 hours. We'll see you in 167 hours on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio News Talk 1180.